I have a question that I think will fit everyone, because I think that in general, all questions that are coming from Twitter, they are more general. If we can make a summary of all them, we can make it more plural. So it comes from Moisés Carvalho, and is asking how to start funding a social technology program. What steps would you indicate so that we can have an immediate sustainability for this project? I can answer that, but first their answers. Well, I don't think there is an easy solution. There is nothing ready. I think that each case is a different case, and they have to be addressed that way. Today, there's a lot of tools available. The Festival of Ideas, which is taking place here, tomorrow we're going to have the second day, is one of the possible alternatives. And similar events. Festival of Ideas is a co-creation festival in which the best ideas will receive a grant with some resources to make those projects viable. But now alternatives are, there are a lot. There's the Catarse platform. There are other platforms. There is the offline crowdfunding, which is the oldest, which is to ask your friends and family members for money. And the most important one is, the most important thing is initially is not to worry too much with the funds, but rather with the ideas, how this project is structured, what is the engagement strategy to carry on this idea that is to become a project. How are people supposed to get engaged? Why will they engage? The motivations can vary. But having a good idea is a good start, because it happens as a consequence. Because there's a lot of angels out there willing to put some money, and some people even have difficulties finding a good project to invest in. People do not find good projects out there, especially in the sustainability area. So there is a lot of available money out there. I always mention that the League for the Forest, for instance, the initial fund was zero, because we already had a programmer. We had conceived this project together, so financially there wasn't a big investment. That's why I say that organizations, the biggest wealth they have, the biggest budget that they may have, is to invest in the right people, to do the right things, to start kick your project. Maybe later we will need more funds, more money, but initially, if you have the right expertise, the right people that can help you, I think that the funding can come in a later stage. That would be my hint to start something. Well, I came from the private initiative, from the public, when they ask how can you support yourself initially, and my first question is, well, that's impossible, because there's always your personal investment, your time that you have to invest, that has to be remunerated somehow. So when I heard the question, I heard, well, this is the $1 million answer. Is a rather complex question to answer. I don't believe in this immediate sustainability. I think that there is a maturation time. The idea has to mature. Well, I'd like to take advantage of. I think that the question has to do with what I wanted to comment. There is an important thing that we have to understand here in our Brazilian reality. And I'm not going to be very long in my explanation, but I just wanted to say that 20, 30 years ago, when we had a good idea, we went for big money for this idea. So it could come from a Dutch foundation or from a resource from a company that would sponsor the project. That was the model that we had in the past. In other countries in the world, when had a good social idea, what they did is they gathered, they chipped in, asked for their volunteers. They would sell some cookies to raise funds. So in that sense, it's sustainable. So if we think of an idea that costs $300,000, that perhaps unsustainable. But when you think of an ideal that starts with a zero cost, and then in 1 month I'm going to need 500 reais, and then in 3 years that's going to be worth $3,000, then it has an organic growth. So in Brazil, maybe we were pampered a little bit by this experience because we were used to getting external funds. And in this aspect, it's very curious because in this Abbey couch, so to speak, we have these different examples. So crowdfunding as a big innovation, which it is because technology allows us. But as he said, offline crowdfunding always existed. It was always there. Greenpeace in 40 years ago was 7 hippies that grouped together that wanted to save the whales and things like that. So everyone said that they were crazy people that wouldn't be able. And now there are 3 million people involved. That's crowdfunding. And 3 million volunteers are associated. There's a lot of people involved. It's crowdfunding. So we have the innovative experience that use a very old concept but brought technology to help this concept, and at the same time we have a NGO, old NGO. Amanda is a young person, but Greenpeace is a 40-year-old organization, so it has a lot of histories that using new tools such as the social media. So in that respect, what I would like to answer in this concept of sustainability attached to the question is that depends on what you mean. If you effectively leave from this cause in the next years for your life. So start small. So effectively you're going to have an organic growth. Don't think that you will be lucky enough that people here are listening and such as IBM will come up and give you some funds. That's good enough for a year or two, but that's not sustainable in the long run. That is just an encouraging provocation that the crowdfunding allows us, in which we can have a good idea. So you have to convince 10 more people that this is really a good idea. Not only you and your mom. That will take you far. So you have to share that, and people have to agree with you. I'd like to make a comment just to reinforce what you have just said, because it's a very interesting subject. I think that the question was good. It was a very provocative question. I have seen rather often, be it in the co-creation events such as the Idea Festival, or in when people look for us at Engage, coming for some counseling in order to structure their social business, we have seen a lot of certain disillusion on the part of the people, thinking that any app will solve their problems, that they need, and for that purpose they need thousands of dollars. But not always it is like this. Most of the time it is bad to start that way. And then to strengthen your point, what is the very methodology of the Silicon Valley companies, the lean startup methodology. What does it pose it? We should start small. We should start with the minimal available resources. If you're able to spend zero, do that. But you have to test your hypothesis. If you have an idea, test it somehow in order to make sure it makes sense. Because sometimes it makes sense to you, but not in the real world. Especially when it involves other people and lots of variables that you do not have control on. So many times people come to you with these expectations that they think that the app will save their lives, and I need that much for my project. And we tell them, well, that's not what you need. Use Facebook for what you need. Create a forum of discussion on Facebook. Mobilize, get your friends together. Use Twitter. I saw lots of social businesses starting from Twitter and from Facebook. Zero cost. And if your idea is wrong, if your premises are not good enough, that's good. You didn't invest much in it. So we didn't invent this methodology. That is a lean startup methodology. If you are to fail, do it fast, because that way you will have invested less energy, less money, less time. I have no more questions, but I have an invitation to make. The first is for people to send questions and comments where if you have a common or a similar project, so maybe you don't have to create any more apps to make it work. Many more people may be interested. Just send it with the hashtag socialgoodbr. We're going to retweet. We're going to answer. And the other invitation is that Amanda has participated in a Google Plus Hangout, and that content is already available, talking about her impressions on the event and her project, the League of the Forest, and that is in our project. So I invite you to get to know, to we'll see all the available lectures today, and they are normally made available 1 hour afterwards. So if you missed some, you're able to see it later on.
Sem microfone. Sim. Yes, there are some questions for Hernando, but I have another question first for Leandro. Please tell us some more of the importance of good accountability, especially in the area of social projects. Yes, this is important. In our case, each semester, this makes it possible that we continue our work. When we finish one project, we have partner companies and the society participates, so we have to show the books, the results, the figures. Accountability is important, and we've been doing this for 8 years. Some companies might do it differently. Our commitment is different. We don't have financial resources, but we offer services, and so our books show the projects and what we do in them. We don't have own resources. I think you all know this a little bit, benchmarking, so we try to look what others are doing and maybe copy some. So maybe you could tell us how you do this, how you get newer users, new participants. And what I always recommend and tell people is that you don't have to just activate new ones, but you have to keep them. Especially people contributing, donating, months after months. So what's the strategy of Greenpeace to keep this level of engagement? Is this something special, digital, or is it just online? How do you do it? Well, if someone becomes a collaborator of Greenpeace, they are active. You don't donate money to an organization and that's it. Greenpeace invests the funds in campaigns, in research, and there are several programs for forests, for energy, renewable energies, and we always bring this information to people, to the collaborators. We have a online newsletter. We invite them to events. We have special events according to the topics in different cities. So we have online work, but we also have a journal. Here we go more into detail, presenting the projects of the last 3 months. And we always send out calls for them to continue participating, continue cooperating. Sometimes they wouldn't sign up for our petition, so it was a activation process, because people are happy to participate. And when you donate to Greenpeace or to another nonprofit, you don't want just to give your money. You want something bigger, something good. And I think that's the best way to bring them closer to us, to keep them with us, going on, moving on with us. Yes. Yes, these are questions that are interlinked. They could be answered by several of you. Yeah, the first one. What are the transparency mechanisms of Catarse? We have open accounts in the main page, bottom. There you will find the numbers, the money we raised, the number of users, the number of successful projects, the projects going on. A lot of information. It's available for everybody. And one of our basic premises is we want to open up the numbers, disseminate them, be transparent. It has to do with planning of the programs, of the software, just to get the information. Another question, how does Catarse, how do you control the donated resources? Well, Catarse, we don't control the project and control the funds raised. It would just not be viable for us from operational perspective, and this was also not our concept. There is a site in the US, they have more resources, and they don't do it because you get a benefit compared to other forms of fundraising that 80% of the resources come from the person doing the project. So it's not funds from the personal network. It's the family, it's the friends of the friends. So if the person doesn't do a good job, his mom will send him to hell, or his best friend. So there is this mechanism to mitigate the natural risks. It would be nice to control everything, to make it even more credible. For the future, we are thinking about a kind of a system. So this person implementing the project is someone nice, he was responsible, etc., etc. But right now, we don't do it. Other question. Is there a control, a selection mechanism of the project that go to the site? Yes, we have curators. They check if they are aligned with our focus. So it's philanthropic projects. This is not our focus. We have other platforms. Our focus are creative projects. Sometimes it's difficult to classify this, even for us, but this means projects where creation finds place. Something is created within the project, and there is some kind of benefit for the society. Okay. The time is up. It's a pity. It's so fast when you are up here. So we are going to wrap up. Sam, do you want to comment something else? If not, I would like to thank you all for coming, for joining. Some of the questions we couldn't answer here right now. We will try to do this through Twitter, the hashtag, you know it all. Well, unfortunately, without the microphone. When you're up here, you get nervous and you forget stuff. Yeah. This is for Twitter, hashtag Social Good Brazil. We will try to answer it later on via Twitter. So this was just to give you a flavor. And we will be here and we can continue the discussion. We all do Twitter. So I thank you all. I thank the panelists. I thank Sam, you, and our Abby, the Brazilian actress who died last month.